Have you ever struggled with accessibility to use a website or an app? Well, if you have, then you're not alone. And today, this video is going to be talking all about why accessibility is so important and how you can make changes so that the tech and the apps and the websites can work better for you. So today I'm joined by Hannah. I used to train Hannah, and she is an expert in accessibility and helping people with disabilities to be able to access websites, apps, and lots more. So hello, Hannah.
Hi Rob, thank you for having me on your channel. I'm excited to be here today. So I work as a UX designer and I have my own business called Be Userwise. I work predominantly in software design, but I've got a history of working on websites, e-commerce sites and apps over the years. I also lecture at a local university on UX design and accessibility. I feel like I better explain what UX design is.
I was going to say, yeah, absolutely.
A little bit more.
What the hell is that?
So UX stands for user experience. And as a user experience designer, it's a very specific part of design where you speak to the users of the product or service and you find out what works well and what's working not so well about the specific product, and then you work to fix those things through design. Goal of UX design is to create really efficient and effective paths from the entry point of a product or service through to the user's end goal. So if that's an e-commerce site, it would be from their entry point through to the purchase of a t-shirt, for example. You want the designs to look nice, but you actually want the users to be able to get from A to B in such a quick and easy way that they're not thinking about the design. A fully accessible design would allow a person with disabilities to independently move through your product or service as quickly and easily as possible.
So Hannah, how did you stumble upon accessibility?
I had awareness of accessibility design and designing for accessibility, but it was in about 2012 when I was first asked to design an accessible website. So the criteria for the website to be accessible was part of my design brief. Because of that being part of the criteria for my design, I thought that would happen more and more at that time. Big changes were happening every year or so in digital design. So it required a lot of reading and working out the best ways to do things. I thought that very soon every project that I was asked to design would be required to be fully accessible. So I spent quite a lot of time working with colour and different functionality and ways of doing things so that I could start to design in that way. Unfortunately, that was never to be. That was a one-off, it being part of the criteria until quite recently. What it taught me was different ways of doing things, and I personally decided from that point forwards to try my best to design in an accessible way. From a user experience design point of view, I know that a lot of these things that are required for accessibility standards are actually good for everybody. So if you design with clear colour contrast between the foreground and background colours, you design something with good fonts, good typefaces that are clear and easy to read, that's going to be good for people with disabilities, but it's also going to help the general population navigate their way through your product or service quickly and easily. Accessible design isn't just about colour contrast, it actually goes into many aspects. Video, for example, would require you to have captions in your video, and that is good for people who are hard of hearing. But again, with the general population, imagine someone in an open plan office with no headphones. By having the captions on your video, they'll still be able to access and understand your content.
So it's interesting you say that, because I was watching a video yesterday and I can't remember who the video was produced by or even who they were talking to, but I'm pretty sure it was somebody from Google. And their point was that if they make everything accessible, then it benefits not just the people they're making it accessible for. And the example they used was dropped curbs to help people in wheelchairs. It doesn't only help people in wheelchairs, it helps people on scooters that have really hard mobility issues. It doesn't just help them, it helps children crossing the roads, it helps people carrying all kinds of heavy stuff, pushing, pulling bins, blah. So yeah, making a website accessible for someone that is hard of hearing or can't see very well will also benefit everyone, like you say.
Yes, that's right. It's actually a really good way to design, full stop.
For me personally, the things that make websites really tricky for me to access are if they've got a really complicated or complex layout, if the fonts are very small, if the colours don't contrast. I just find that really hard to navigate, but also it kind of puts me off and I end up searching for other things, an easier experience for me to either spend my money or book a service. So off the back of that, obviously technology can really help people like me with a disability, but is there any kind of legislation or law that's going to be passing? Well, we know that there is, I'm just leading you into it, but I think it's worth looking into the legislation that's coming in next year. Can you tell me more about that?
Yes, so there is a new law coming in next year called the European Accessibility Act. Even though it's a EU law, it will affect British businesses that sell products or services to the EU. So it's coming into force in June 2025. And it is going to cover computers and operating systems, banking, e-books, a lot of products and services that are deemed most important for people with disabilities to be able to access. Where it is going to affect British businesses will predominantly be e-commerce companies which sell their products or services to countries in the EU.
So the legislation comes in June next year. So if there are people that are struggling to use websites in particular at the moment, we've still got about 10 months until this comes in. What should people do if they encounter difficulties with websites before it comes in?
I think the best thing that people can do, especially if they have the time, would be to contact the website owner and let them know that they have had trouble using the website, and give as much detail as you can. What particularly was it that you struggled with? Was there a particular area of the website that you couldn't use? And depending on how you contact the company, if you speak to someone via phone, for example, ask for the information to be passed on to the people who are responsible for the website, because it's quite unlikely that the person that you're speaking to will be the person responsible for the website.
And I know that we spoke before about a situation I had with a website, and I didn't want to get people in trouble by saying that I'm struggling to use a website, but actually if people don't know that their website is not accessible, they might not even think to address that. So highlighting it is actually a good thing for website developers, right?
Yes, yeah. I do a lot of reviews of websites, not necessarily from an accessibility point of view, but I will point out these things myself. And most people don't realise, I would say, is my experience. And upon hearing that there are problems of that type, and in some cases how easy they are to fix, someone that I was speaking to recently, they literally turned to their team and said, how quickly can we fix this? So when people are made aware, I think that they genuinely want to be able to make them a lot easier to use.
Excellent. Right, so we are going to be sitting with Hannah again on another video, which is going to be all about my own experience with a website and trying to book a service. So make sure you tune in for that, and thanks for watching.